Well, it's finally being acknowledged on the real and not by some small YouTuber just like me. It is being acknowledged by the big tubers. And the big tubers are saying the sad decline of Joe Rogan is here. So we got to give it up for Podcast Cringe for making this nice little video and confirming what I've been saying. Joe Rogan is on the downhill slope and allegedly he could be doing more than that, which we're also investigating. But let's go ahead. But before we do, please like, subscribe, share. And if you like more of this content, go check out Tom Segura is a Serial Killer. It's a 14-part series going on 15. You might like it, and it might convince you that he is allegedly. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Here we go.
I've said this over and over again. If Apple could make an American-made phone and charge me more money, I'll pay double for it.
Yeah.
What's a phone? Like $1,500? Is that what it is? Charge $2,000.
Yeah.
Charge $2,000. People will pay it. Most people are like putting on a part of their bill to pay a little bit of it off every day.
It's hard to
listen here. I don't want to buy a new phone. I don't want to buy a new phone. And the fact that you don't know what a phone costs is like the gallon of milk. You just don't know, Joe. You're gone. You're gone, baby. You ain't living in the real world no more.
pinpoint the exact moment that Joe Rogan's brain fell out of his head. For some people, it was the Spotify money. Others claim it was the pandemic that cooked him. For me, though, it was the opening of his comedy club in Austin when his cognitive decline really started to set in. Before that, the podcast was his pride and joy. He was 100% dialed in and fully dedicated to bringing in the best guests with the most interesting backgrounds to discuss the most whacked out shit that nobody had heard about.
That's what I liked him for, and I would say around the opening of the Comedy Mothership, I think COVID kind of made him snap as a little bit too. But the theory is here that, you know, he's got his own comedy store. He owns it. He ain't got to try. He ain't got to prove himself to nobody. He's just living in an echo chamber, and he don't care anymore. Look at his crazy eyes. Jesus.
Now it's become a circle jerk of open micers, never been funny comedians, and right-wing grifters who are here to sell us a book or a pill or some sort of online course. The worst part is, though, it doesn't seem to matter who the guest is these days, because once Boomer Joe gets going on his talking points, they end up just sitting there and nodding their heads in agreement until it's time for Joe to hit the green room.
Hey, if anyone is trying to sell you a course online, you know, there's courses like learn Photoshop, learn how to code. But if anyone is trying to sell you a course like this is the reason to success, this will make you sell more, they are a con man. If they have the word masterclass in them, you know they're a con man. The word masterclass in ancient Hebrew means con man. No, I'm just joking. I made that up, but I'm just saying it means con man.
At the Comedy Mothership to mingle with his latest assortment of top 250 comedy assassins. But unlike the decline of many other internet personalities, Rogan possesses one defining feature that no other has possessed before him. He truly has no fucking idea what's going on, and that's what makes this so fascinating. Let me explain. If you've been following this channel for a while, you would have seen Rogan give dozens of his guests the advice not to read the comments. And this is what really makes Joe a pioneer in this space. Take, for example, his latest tweet reply. Here, Elon Musk's parody account retweeted an article about how all of Alex Jones' assets are to be liquidated, including his flagship InfoWars show, except Boomer Joe didn't realize that it was a parody account and not the real Elon Musk. So he decided to reply in all caps saying yes. Now, that's not the funny bit. The funny bit is he would still have no fucking idea that he got duped by a parody account and not the real Elon, because we know that Joe posts and ghosts. We're all just waiting for him to bring up the Elon parody tweet on the podcast and see his reaction as Jamie is forced to correct him.
Oof.
It could be some troll shit.
Say anything about
They
that.
got me.
Yeah.
They could have got me. Yeah, there is a fake image. They got me, these sons of bitches. It's just amazing how much stuff is fake.
So
I mean, did you expect this, man? I feel like here's what I think. I think we were watching Joe be shaped and molded, especially after COVID. I think Joe stuck to his guns, but I think COVID really did something to him, right? He had a lot of big life moments, and then the whole CNN thing really messed him up. I think we were just watching Joe be molded by all these guests coming on. These guests, he would just sit there, and they'd be all these super right-wing guests and stuff, and he just fell in line because I think after he felt cool until I think he felt violated by CNN, by COVID, and then he had to choose a side finally. He decided in his mind he had to choose a side, and he went to the right.
We all know that Joe They Got Me Rogan has been having a tough time on the internet, and the only time he realizes he's been duped is when he brings it up on his podcast for Jamie to check. Watching JRE these days is basically like going to a family barbecue and getting the latest shitpost updates that all your boomer relatives fell for. But despite the failure of Joe's infamous bullshit detector, he still blames the boomers for believing in the mainstream media.
The distrust in the media is at an all-time high. It's probably, it has to be higher than it's ever been in human history. At the same time, you have these independent people that have become bigger than the media. That's never happened before. There's never been a thing where just an app that you get on your phone has 30 times more views than the top show at CNN.
Yeah.
He always focuses on this. I swear, man, he has but like 5 talking points now. He is always either harping on the media, on the government. I mean, it's just, it's just getting tiresome. Can we get weird people back on the show? Like I don't know, man. I got like, it's tough because there's just a lot of dark stuff that have been uncovered, but I really wanted Joe to make a comeback, but I think like these people, they begin to crack because there's more underneath the surface, and there's some darkness in that Rogan group, and over time it just starts seeping and festering, and I think the walls are crumbling on the Rogan sphere. It's just, they've been hiding too much, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, just go check out some of my videos. It's deep.
That's never happened before. But now that's the world that we live in. And so propaganda is not effective anymore. They're just a talking head.
Yep.
They're just, no one they know they're the mouthpiece for some giant corporation. No one thinks that's the real news anymore. You have to be like old boomers who are like real tired. Like those old liberal boomers, they're still like MSNBC to the death. Like the Stephen Kings out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. MSNBC to the death.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Joe Rogan, not realizing that he's the one spreading fake news to 30 times the audience size of mainstream media, is peak Joe Rogan. But the frustrating thing for me is how Rogan wastes decent guests by just talking over them and ranting about the same topics over and over again. On the latest episode with former Navy SEAL and CIA contractor Sean Ryan, you'd think Joe would have had a bunch of questions about his background and all the shit he's seen over the years. Instead, it felt like Joe was the one being interviewed. And
that's the thing too.
Seems like I wasn't the only one who noticed.
That's the thing too, is like everybody really noticed it with the Adam Sandler episode, right? And everyone thought that was like a fluke or that was just a waste of Adam Sandler. But the reality, that's just like a precursor. This man is just up in the clouds ranting down at all of us down here, like having a real life. He's just up there.
Sean just did his interview of Rogan using Joe's own platform. Genius. Joe talks for 3 hours. Sean, no shit. Great podcast, Sean. Your guest Rogan had a lot to talk about today. It feels like Sean is the interviewer and Joe is the guest. Sean Ryan doesn't like hearing himself talk, which is why he's so successful. He really just lets the guest talk. Best interviewer. So instead of going deep into Sean's background as a US government assassin, Joe wanted to talk about shit he saw on Twitter.
Have you seen the Steven Crowder undercover thing he did with that COVID czar in New York?
No.
Have you seen that? Jamie, go to his page and find the most recent one.
So, man, like, it's tough that COVID is such like it's just a really bad time for everybody, right? And it's so like politically charged, and there's so many feelings behind it. But I don't really know how I don't know how much longer you can like talk about it. Like the people that did this to us in COVID, it's obviously they're not gonna have any accountability. So it's just like, I don't understand what Joe is trying to do. Just constantly like, it's over, man. We need to like find a way to move forward, to not repeat that mistake, to hold our leaders accountable. So stuff, like locking us down doesn't happen anymore. Lab leaks that cause world viruses don't happen anymore. Like we need to find a way forward. I don't understand. Like humans are so caught up in this blame game all the time about and like, I don't know, man, even I do it, you know what I mean? We're doing it now, like damn, I just always just be proving myself wrong. Watch the movie,
because the most recent one is fascinating. This guy's openly talking about monkeypox is really just gay guys get it from unprotected. I'll let it.
That's not the video. That's the guy though, right?
Yeah, is it on his Instagram? Go to it. I'll show you which one it is.
It's just not playing a video. Oh, maybe here.
Yeah, that's it. Is it? No. That's not it. That's not it. There's a recent one. No.
That's the last one he played.
I know. Maybe it's somewhere else. Let me scroll down a little bit. See if you can find the one. See that one right there? That's kind of yellow. That's yellow there. But which one? There's got to be one where he's talking about monkeypox. That's not, because that's all about shutting the schools down. God damn it, we got to find it. I might have watched it on X. I probably thought, I'm saying X now.
Yeah, good for
you.
you.
I feel politically correct. Like when I call a transgender person a girl, she. Like, you like that? How I did that? I said she.
That's like, where he's talking to him directly?
No. Okay. No, that's not it. The monkeypox one, god damn it, I know I saved it. If you want, I can find it. I saved it on my phone because I was like, this is just so bonkers. God damn it. This is going to be a problem. I'm not going to find it. If you see if you can find it. It's got to be out there because I watched it this morning.
This was basically the whole first hour of the podcast. Joe would remember something he saw on Instagram or Twitter and then have Jamie pull it up so he could read it off the screen for everyone. And people are starting to get sick of his obsession with politics. And it's not necessarily because of his political views, it's more that he's just so fucking lazy when it comes to any sort of real discussion. Instead of getting Trump or Kamala on his podcast, which he could easily do, he'd rather just rattle off a bunch of fake tweets or memes about them and then pretend like he's well-informed and weeding out all the bullshit.
I don't think, look, I don't think people listened to Joe Rogan in the first place to listen to politics, right? And then Joe Rogan, they were for the crazy guests and the interesting people he brought on. And him bringing politics into it is going to make it like, this isn't what we're here for, It's not like he started out as a political podcaster or like a Tucker Carlson or something like that, where they're there to hear political things because people want to keep on politics. No, people listen to this because probably the opposite. And so now Joe Rogan, it's not even that he's lazy about his views, it's that everything goes towards politics. And I keep thinking, because I'm thinking, why am I so upset with Joe Rogan or feel so offended? It's just that he's just using his platform to divide more people. Like when he was bringing people together over ideas, creative people, creative processes, art, science, and now it's like everything else in the media. It's just like, oh, how do we want to divide them, slice them up, fry them up, serve them, put them on the griddle, mash them, gumbo people divide, it's really disappointing, because it's like, why would you make all these videos? Because it's like, it just sucks. We're just back to square one. We thought we had somebody that was doing something and blam. And then you'll be like, well, oh, you shouldn't have had hope in Joe Rogan. Well, you know what? Y'all have hope in a lot of dumb shit. Tell me I'm wrong. I'm not going to point them out because I don't want to offend nobody. But there's a lot of dumb stuff people believe in. I just had hope in a man that said he was something he wasn't. And I should have been smarter. You're right. I should have seen it. I should have seen that he was on the Disney deal. I should have seen all of it. But I did it. Here we are.
I mean, we're talking about the biggest podcast in the world. He's had some of the craziest guests over the years. He could have whistleblowers on there, or even just the people he always talks about. Instead of reading their social media posts, just get them in there for a talk. Like, what the fuck is the point of having such a big audience if you're just going to read off the screen and repeat the same shit over and over again? And it all goes back to what I was saying at the beginning of this video. Joe has stopped putting in effort to book the best guests and have the best conversations. Ever since he's built his comedy club, he's been in autopilot. Guys like Theo Von have beat him to it, and even the internet's second biggest loser, Logan Paul, beat Rogan by having Trump on his podcast as well. By the way, if you're wondering who the biggest loser is, well, you'd have to be a numbers guy to figure that one out. Thank him, B. But speaking of signed affidavits,
We have like very loose rules on what you're allowed to do and what you're not allowed to do. Like, there was a lot of outrage because people were saying that ABC somehow or another had gotten the subject matter to Kamala, and that they had agreed to Kamala that they were not going to ask her about her DA record when she was in California, and that they were not going to talk about some other person she was involved with that might be in trouble. They said they were only going to fact check Donald Trump.
Yeah.
I think if they did give her the questions, and they really did, and this is someone signed an affidavit. See what's going on with that. See what's the latest with that, Jamie. So someone signed an affidavit that was an ABC employee that claims these things. Humans sometimes will do things.
According to this, it says that this started with a claim that there was an affidavit, but I don't know that it's ever been actually presented to anyone.
Interesting. Didn't it get discussed on Twitter and people were posting?
Look, the reason people get hooked by these articles is they are finding what they are looking for. You know, it's like, just read the search terms. You know, people be looking for Kamala Harris cheated in debate. It's not like Kamala Harris debate. You know, like, it's the same thing with Donald Trump is a liar, and you're going to get Donald Trump is a liar stuff. And unfortunately, there's people that know there's people like you looking for this stuff, and they're going to get your money, especially after these debates and all that. They're blasting out all kinds of articles to support everyone's opinions, because they know if people are going to find an article that supports their opinion, then they're going to share it, and blam, 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 revenue. You know, that's why, like, when Joe Rogan does this, it's just like, you're not trying to, like, discuss anything. You are trying to place blame. These articles are just blame placers. And so it's just like, oh, really? Who cares? They both sucked. How about that? None of them, neither one of them should be president. Like, politics, like, do we still believe in this? This game they're playing up there? Like, come on. Like, can we talk about something else?
About the veracity of it. I think Elon even put it on his Colin Rugg, I know, had it on his. Bill Ackman. That's right. Bill Ackman was the guy who tweeted it. Didn't know if the claim was accurate, but shared it anyway, which is what's fun. It's fun to do on the internet.
And they said that the person who did it was killed in a car crash, and that seems to be false.
Yeah, that was amplified by Marjorie Taylor Greene, who also doesn't do herself any favors. I think they do stuff like that. This is my take on that. When I saw all these people tweeting that the guy died in a car crash, I was like, that might be a trap. They'll throw out a fake story and get people to share it, like, you know, without looking into it at all. And it turns out to be complete horseshit, and it makes the whole thing look like horseshit now.
Bro, this podcast, God, man, this podcast, I stopped listening to him, man. This guy is just like gone on in the loony train, man. And I'm falling asleep here just listening to him talk. Like, was it painful you to listen to this whole thing, man? Bro, you're a champion just from getting through this, man. He is just like, nobody cares. Nobody cares. This is just straight garbage. It's just like, come on, man. I almost feel like he lives in such a different world now and is so rich. Like, these are his things that he thinks he connects with us about. You know what I mean? I don't even know what he's doing.
Now it looks like makes the affidavit, it's at least connected to horseshit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I mean, it's a good tactic.
Yeah. Smart tactic.
They get a lot of good tactics.
They're very organized. which is really interesting.
And then, in one of the most perfect acts of irony put forth from the universe, right after waxing lyrical about how political operatives spread false information to help a story get traction and build a narrative, Joe spreads false information to help a story get traction and build a fake narrative. Except nobody does it quite like our boy Rogan. He starts off by quoting his mechanic as a reliable source, then he makes a completely false statement about political donations, pops a zin, and then proceeds to get fact-checked by Jamie while clinging onto the fake chart that duped him on Twitter. Fucking brilliant.
Didn't George Soros just buy 200 radio stations?
Yeah, man. Yeah.
First of all, what a bad investment, because who the listens to radio?
Good.
That's a bad investment. But second of all, what are you going to
Just a little side note. I really have a lot of nostalgia for radio. If there were like some real, like, I always loved like the university channels, the ones that weren't corporate, you know, they're really cool. Like New York had really good hip hop ones, a lot of really cool shows on them. I would totally like support radio. But the problem with radio, you know, it just, you know, radio's great, you know, live DJs and, you know, I think radio could always have a place. It's not just like podcast all the time, you know? Anyways.
do? Like, because one thing that I do find is that right-wing talk radio is probably the only talk, that's like the only.
Also, for all the people that used to listen to radio, who used to listen to the radio station and put cassette tapes in their thing, and when your favorite song would come on, you would record the song on the cassettes, and then you would make little cassettes with all kinds of music, and you would try to write all the different things on the tape, but you couldn't because it was impossibly small. Remember those days? Dang, I used to like listening to the hip hop show and then recording all the hip hop tracks that I liked. Man, they just don't do it like that anymore.
Only place where you get a lot of right-wing ideas. The reason why I know is my mechanic. Whenever he fixes one of my cars and he brings it back, he's always listening to right-wing talk radio. So I turned my car on the other day, and I'm listening to these guys argue about Kamala Harris and the border, and that she was the fucking border czar. You know, they didn't swear, but they were going over this, and I was like, that's interesting. Like, maybe that's what he wants to stop. It's also, like, if you look at the amount of donors that donate to the left versus donate to the right, have you ever seen that chart?
No.
It's fucking nuts. The left gets so many more donations than the right does. Like, it's a giant difference.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know, man. I think a lot of rich people feel guilty, and they get into philanthropy, and it also is a good way to cover their ass and make them look like better people.
I wonder if they're buying their place outside of the.
What is up with all this sin, man? Like, how to be? Jeez, man. It's crazy. I didn't know. I just like, I mean, do what you got to do, but like, where did Zen come from? It's like overnight, man. I just saw the other day that they had like a whole Zen TikTok thing. I saw like a YouTube video on it, and I'm just like, what is with Zen? What happened? Did it just take over the world by storm? It's crazy. Everyone's got Zens now, man. Sometimes I live in my own world.
Rules. Like, hey, I donated your thing.
What do you got,
Shows
Jamie?
the top donors to OpenSecrets.org. 6 of the top 7 are Republicans.
Oh.
Individual
Interesting.
donors, individual
individual donors.
There's
What
100
I
million.
was talking about was like they showed a chart that had like Google, Facebook, all these mega corporations that were donating. Wow, some guys
$100
donated
million.
$105 million.
Wow.
But that guy's probably worth billions. That's probably some sort of a write-off too, isn't it? That's pretty crazy. Go to top corporation donations via party. Because that's the chart that I was looking for. This is the number one. This is corporations. Mm-hmm. So they donate more than Google.
Top contributors, organizations, federal contributions.
So 82 million is the top one, and that's Empower Parents, PAC, and these are right wing. Is that why it's red?
I'd assume so.
So it seems like the top 4. Why? What is that Google chart that I was seeing? And I don't even see Google on this.
This is what it says. Google or
I
Alpha.
don't know. Are you guys still paying attention? I was just trying to. There's a fly in here, and it just keeps landing on my legs. It's driving me crazy. And then just Joe's, and I like. Are you guys still listening to the podcast? That's the question, because man. Okay, we're gonna just march forward here.
Alphabet gave on Open Secrets. It says they gave just under $10 million to contributions and then spent like 21 mil in
Lobbying.
Top recipients, obviously Kamala Harris.
Yeah, they're all so Google's all blue.
But that's a
Oh,
small
is this
amount compared
who?
to the other
This
ones.
is who they donated to.
Yeah.
I love how when the left does it, it's because they're evil and manipulative, but when the right does it, it's just a tax write-off. Whatever your political views are, it's obvious that Joe falls for all the shit he sees on Twitter and Instagram from all his grifter buddies. Nothing beats the time when he thought Joe Biden was rambling about airports during the Civil War, only for Jamie to break it to him that Biden was actually quoting something that Trump had said. But Rogan's fixation on the pandemic is also something that needs to be studied. He got ridiculed for spending so much time rehashing old talking points about the pandemic in his latest special, Burn the Boats, but that didn't stop him claiming that it was the defining moment in the fall of modern civilization while talking to a bunch of comedians on his podcast. What you're about to see here is a glimpse into the comedy mothership green room.
We go into apocalyptic times. Do you think they'll look back on like the shutting down of the country for a year and a half as like the trigger that made society begin to collapse?
I don't think they will. They'll never acknowledge they were wrong.
Do you think, but
We-
like
we probably
historians,
will.
objective historians, do you think they'll look
I hope
back
so.
at this time and be like, this was the fall of Rome?
I think it's the internet. The internet is the beginning of the end for everything.
But is it the beginning
Yeah,
of the
but
end?
it's not,
Is
because
the
the
beginning of the
internet
end?
didn't shut the fucking country down for a year and a half. Without the
CNN
internet,
guys.
they would have pulled that off so much easier. They would have scared the shit out of you.
Well, they
You
did-
would
they
never
pulled it
know.
off. They
You
did.
would, yeah, but if this happened in the 1980s, you would never know how many people died on respirators. You would never know about any of
Right.
that shit. You wouldn't know about a goddamn thing they didn't want you to know about. That's what's so
That's when you hear
scary
about the
about the
Spanish
media
flu.
today.
But in a strange twist of fate, while
I'm telling you, Joe Rogan, like, COVID is Joe Rogan's colostomy bag, man. It wounded him so bad, and it is just still pumping poo out of him. It is. He is hooked up onto that forever. He just, I don't know, maybe, I don't know why it just wounded him forever. It just created something inside Joe that he could never get over, when there's somebody that just can't stop talking about something, over it. They just, no matter what they do, they just always comes right back around to that,
entertaining three of his fellow top 250 brethren, Joe was faced with an uncharacteristic disagreement from one of his disciples, which forced him to swiftly correct course and trample over this shocking display of insubordination.
It's so funny coming into this room and thinking of all the things I've watched that are made such like, whether it be the Cat Williams thing or, I mean, that was wild. The one I just said, Terrence Howard.
Oh
God,
yeah,
that was
Terrence
fun.
Howard one's very interesting. He's a very, very smart guy. He just doesn't have a formal education. Terrence is like this super smart guy that's way smarter than anybody around him. But then the really super smart guys who are actually super smart guys who are educated about it, they don't engage with them. And so Eric was like, let me just talk to this dude. I think he's one of us. He's just gone astray. Just a brilliant guy who hasn't actually gotten the correct education and stuff. And he's kind of like a self-taught genius.
Nah.
No, dude, he is, man. He's crazy smart. He's just not like, he's got to hang out with more people like him.
Joe doesn't want to take that L. That's all. Joe is trying to sell some down the river. You know what I mean? He's trying to sell that down the river, and nobody is picking that one up. Nope. They pulled their nets in like, nope. He just doesn't want to take that L because that's a pretty bad L, man. Joe came in to like shock the science. Like Joe brought on Terrence Howard to like shock the world in the science community. You know what I mean? That was what that was, right? But instead, it went tragically wrong for him.
You know what I mean? Like he's too smart for anybody he knows.
This is what they said
He
about,
needs more Eric Weinstein.
this is what
more
they
people
said
that,
about
like-
Dave Smith a few years ago.
We need
That's
more
true.
people like
Same
himself.
thing.
Ooh, that was a close one, huh? But it just goes to show how out of touch Joe is with what most of his viewers are thinking. After all the fallout from his Terrence Howard episodes, Joe still doesn't realize that Terrence is clearly suffering from a mental illness, and he profited off of his misfortune and helped to publicly humiliate a sick man. I mean, we're living in a time where the parodies of JRE are more accurate than the actual podcast episodes themselves.
Do you know who Pink Trip is?
No.
You don't know Pink Trip? Pink Trip is hilarious. He's a guy on the internet who takes clips of podcasts.
I can't stand I can't stand Andrew Huberman, man. Another snake oil salesman. There's just like, listen, man, if you're any kind of real human being, right, that has like, you know, had to get through life, right, you know, a bit, you know, there ain't no super cure. There, you know, how many times has someone promised a super thing, a one thing that'll nothing. There ain't nothing that changes everything. And the biggest thing that could change a good percentage of your life if you didn't have it is money and your health, right? But there ain't no one cure-all ever. There never has been. If there was, these people wouldn't be selling. It ain't cold plunging, sauna. It ain't like, you know, a lot of it's luck of the genetic code that was given to you. And if there's a person that is telling you how they're doing something is the perfect way, just know that's a con, man. Because a real person would just be like, pfft. Do you know? You know? You got give me the secret, dog. I had no idea. I am stumbling through it as we speak, just rolling, tripping over my feet, and just trying to make the best of it that I can. These people always, you know, it's annoying. These people just always trying to sell you a cure-all, and I just can't stand them. You could see them, man, and they just greasy.
And it creates narratives of things that are totally not happening.
Oh yeah,
What I've tried to do is introduce a new set of tools to the scientific and mathematical community.
Terrence, let me ask you a question. 1 times 1 is what? Like, this is
Right.
simple. What's wrong with you? It's a simple question.
1 times 1 equal 2.
So you don't know basic multiplication. Terrence has an issue with multiplication.
I don't have an issue. That's a metaphor that there's something very wrong with the math because math should
There's
not be
nothing
done.
wrong.
And if the square root of 2 didn't have that
Terrence.
problem,
Listen to me very carefully. You have lost complete touch with reality.
That pretty much sums up the 7 hours of airtime that Joe dedicated to Terrence Howard's memories from the womb, and it was blindingly accurate as well, but we can't forget Joe's other obsession, the moon.
I mean, here's the thing, right? All throughout history, people be fine. We've all fallen for some like guy that's just like trying to sell us some, you know, but it's the everyday people you can count on. You know that taco stand you go to that you've been going to for 10 years, the one that always tastes good. You can believe in that. You can believe in that. You know that tire guy who hooks you up with the good used tires that only cost you $25, and if you got a big truck, make it 35. You know that guy you've been going to? Trust that guy. These guys that pop up on the internet and like, yo, I've got the answer to life right here or right now. Just sign up, click that button, take my masterclass, boom, bat, bing, bam, bam, boom. Your life will be fixed forever and you'll be rich. Don't believe those guys, man. A lot like, the reason a lot of people are offended is that you tried to sell us some, and a lot of people, yeah, it's not a good look, man.
moon landing hoax. Some of you may remember that I covered his episode with moon landing hoax expert Bart Sabrell, but it came up again with Matt Walsh in episode 2204, which was actually fucking hilarious. The best bit was when Joe brought up his bit about the moon landing from his latest special to Matt Walsh, expecting the customary response, "Oh my god, yeah, I watched your special 3 times, it was so funny, Joe," except instead this is all he got.
You're moon landing, you're not a... You believe in the moon landing, right?
I used to believe in the moon landing.
You don't anymore?
I had a joke in my act about it, that before COVID, I would have told you vaccines the most important invention in human history, and after COVID, I'm like, I don't think we went to the moon.
Yeah, I know that was in your... But you actually think that?
I think there is a less than zero possibility that we did not go to the moon.
Oh, my gosh.
I know.
Hang on, so if there's a less than zero possibility that we did not go to the moon, doesn't that mean... Oh, never mind. If you didn't catch that episode, basically, Joe went on a 40-minute rant about how the moon landing was fake, while Matt Walsh just sat there with his resting bare face trying to figure out why in the fuck he brought it up in the first place. The top comment on that episode is, "Matt, I came to talk about my movie. Joe, we're going to talk about the moon landing." So it's plain to see that Joe's in cognitive decline. Some people say it's years of substance abuse mixed.
Hey, I'm really pumped that Podcast Cringe brought that up, because I think that was the last episode I listened to, and I heard that and I was like, yo, did anybody, and it seemed like everybody missed the moon thing. I did a video on it, and I just thought it was like a wild moment, like just, like a flat out admission by Joe Rogan that he like, for me, that moment was important because he like took a stand right there that he does not believe we went to the moon. And I like, that's a bold statement to make. I know people could argue for both sides. That's not what I'm saying. But to like such a like contentious, like, it's a divisive topic. If you say you don't believe in the moon landing, a certain amount of people are like, yo, this guy right here, I don't know. And for vice versa, right? So I was just surprised that topic wasn't covered more, because it was just like, dang, that's a big statement to make, like that's a statement that could affect advertisers, that could make like listeners, like it's a big stance to take, Woo.
With delusional comic syndrome, but I honestly just think he's so fucking rich now that he literally gives zero fucks what anyone thinks about him, including his audience. And when you compare his decline to someone like Brendan Schaub, who actively went after his audience and tried to bully them into submission, Joe's decline is quite unique. The fact that Joe has no idea what the internet really thinks about him is some of the funniest shit I've ever seen. For a guy who warns about the dangers of falling into echo chambers and getting sucked into the big propaganda machine, he really has manifested his own ironic destiny by becoming Boomer Joe. So we can shit on his stand-up comedy as much as we like, but the truth is, Joe Rogan is funny as fuck. He just doesn't know why. Anyway, don't forget to check out the link in the description to my Patreon if you're interested in my longer form uncensored content. There's plenty of stuff on there right now covering Rogan, Kill Tony, various lawsuits, as well as other bits and pieces, and it's a great way to support the channel. Also, if you're not a regular here on YouTube, hit that subscribe button and make sure to give me a thumbs up if you ended up liking this video. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next one.
There you go. Good video there. I like this. I've been noticing a lot of these bigger channels have been doing some like really like for a while it was like everyone would just cover the hot topics, and I think that does. But I like now that these channels have grown to like really big size, they're starting to do some more nuanced takes on stuff, and I'm glad they covered some things in this. I think I mean that's the whole thing, right? If you're looking to talk about something or you're looking to prove something, the best thing to do is do the research, gather the data, gather the evidence, and present a case. So if you're going to make these big claims like the sad decline of Joe Rogan, it's good that you get really good evidence here, like in this video. So I thought this video was good. So, subscribe and give it a like, and then make sure that you share it. But it's here. Where does Joe Rogan go next? nobody knows.